Have you ever just looked around your neighborhood and wondered, how did it get to be this way? You know, the quiet suburban streets, the busy energy of a city block? Well, none of that happened by accident. It was all designed. In fact, it was the result of a huge clash between two very different, very powerful ideas about what a community should be.
See, the story of how our neighborhoods were built really boils down to two fundamental questions. Who gets to live where, and who gets to decide? The answers to those questions literally shape the ground we walk on today.
All right, so first let's dig into the first blueprint. This was the top-down version, the one engineered by the government right after World War II to create a very specific kind of American dream.
So, picture this. The war is over. Millions of veterans are coming home and they're ready to start families. But there's a huge problem. There's nowhere for them to live. I mean, this was a full-blown national crisis. And at the exact same time, this idea of owning your own home, your own little piece of America, was becoming the dream.
So the federal government steps in, and I mean they went big. They created these powerful new agencies like the Homeowners Loan Corporation, or HOLC, and the Federal Housing Authority, the FHA. Together, these guys didn't just help build houses, they built an entire system. The FHA started backing mortgages, which made it unbelievably cheap and easy for millions of families to buy their first home. But, and this is a huge but, this system came with a hidden rulebook.
And that hidden rulebook had a name: redlining. The HOLC literally drew maps of cities all over the country and colored them in. If your neighborhood was green or blue, great, you were desirable. Yellow meant declining. But if you lived in a red-colored area, often where Black and immigrant families lived, you were labeled hazardous. And getting a loan in one of those redlined neighborhoods, it became pretty much impossible.
Now you have to understand, this wasn't just a few bad apples or some biased loan officers. This was the FHA, the federal government taking individual prejudice and baking it right into national policy. It sent a crystal clear message. Racial segregation wasn't just okay, it was now official U.S. government policy.
And if you want to see exactly how this policy played out in the real world, there is no better example than Levittown, probably the most famous suburb on Earth, built on what used to be a potato field.
The scale of this place was just incredible. The builders basically turned home construction into a factory assembly line. Seriously, they broke the whole process down into 27 steps, and teams of workers would just move from one concrete slab to the next, doing one job over and over. They were churning out a new house every 16 minutes. It was an astonishing feat of efficiency.
But here's the flip side of that incredible efficiency. While Levittown was solving the housing crisis for literally tens of thousands of white families, it was actively, deliberately denying that exact same dream to Black families, including Black veterans who had just fought for their country overseas.
And let's be clear, this wasn't some unspoken rule or a quiet understanding. Nope, it was written right there in black and white, in the lease, Clause 25. It was a core feature of this suburban blueprint, not a bug. This quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? This economic fear was fueled directly by FHA policy. The government itself had created this toxic idea that having Black neighbors would tank your property values. They had weaponized homeownership, turning the American dream for one group into a brick wall for another.
Okay, so while that top-down vision was shaping the suburbs, a completely different kind of fight was brewing in the cities. A rebellion, really, that was championing a bottom-up blueprint. And you can see this whole conflict embodied in two legendary figures. In one corner, you've got Robert Moses, the master builder of New York, an Ivy League guy, a total power broker, who just built massive highways and bridges. And in the other corner, Jane Jacobs. She wasn't a planner. She didn't even have a college degree. She was a journalist and a mom who saw the city from her front stoop, not from some blueprint. It was a real David versus Goliath story. And their big showdown came to a head over Moses's plan for a monster 10-lane expressway that would have plowed right through the heart of Greenwich Village, wiping out homes, businesses, and even Washington Square Park. To Moses, this was just progress. But to Jacobs, it was the complete destruction of a living, breathing community. So she organized her neighbors, and she fought back. And you know what? She won. Her victory helped spark a totally different vision for our communities. Jacobs argued that great neighborhoods aren't designed from on high. They grow organically, like a living thing. They need what she famously called eyes on the street. A healthy mix of shops and homes, old buildings and new ones, all creating a dense, vibrant, safe place for people, not just for cars.
So you end up with these two clashing blueprints for America. One is all about mass-produced order and control. The other is about organic, human-scale life. And the echoes of that battle, well, they're all around us.
The choice between a Levittown and a Greenwich Village was never just about what looks nice. It was a deep, fundamental argument about who our communities are even for. Is the goal efficiency and control, or is it dynamism and inclusion?
And this is why all this history matters so much. Because in America, for generations, owning a home has been the main way families build wealth. By systematically shutting out black families from those same government-backed opportunities, these policies didn't just segregate neighborhoods. They created a massive racial wealth gap that we are still dealing with today.
And make no mistake, that fight between Moses's top-down vision and Jacob's bottom-up one, it is far from over. It's happening right now, in city council meetings and zoning hearings all across the country. So the question isn't just about our past, it's about our future. What kind of blueprint will we choose to follow?